are you doing in my swamp? What are you doing in my swamp?
Hello everybody, this is Ogre Boy, and I'm going to be doing my top 10 worst horror movies of the 2010s. A couple days ago I did my top 10 best horror movies of the decade, and so I wanted to go ahead and do this list too. This list was actually a lot harder to put together than I expected because there were a lot of really good movies out in the 2010s, and so I had trouble choosing which ones to put on here, but I think I've got them all figured out. There are probably ones that most people would expect to be on here, and if they're not, more than likely it means either I ended up enjoying them, because I do sometimes enjoy horror movies that people don't, or it could just be that I haven't seen them yet, because like movies like the Black Christmas remake from last year, I still haven't seen that one. I don't know if or when I'll ever see it. I'm sure that if I do, it'll probably make this list from the way it sounds. I have no interest in it really anyway, so I probably ain't gonna like that movie, but it's not gonna be on here because I haven't seen it. And like the Human Centipede movies, I haven't seen those yet either. And I know there's other horror movies that probably could be on here that I just haven't seen yet. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Number 10 is Pet Sematary. This one's number 10 because I have mixed feelings on this movie. I didn't like it at all when I watched it the first time, but I ended up rewatching it with a friend a couple months ago, and I ended up enjoying it a lot more on rewatch. So I thought maybe I just put this at number 10 because I don't really care for this movie, but I don't think it's absolutely terrible. I don't think it's as bad as than any of the other movies on this list, personally. The cast in here, for the most part, is really my main problem with the movie, especially Jason Clarke. I don't like him as an actor. I think he's a terrible actor. I've never liked him in anything I've seen him in. I think the only movie he's in that, well, actually, he's been in a couple that I've liked, but he's always the thing about the movie that I like the least. I liked Terminator Genesis, but I hated him in that movie, and I didn't really care for him in the Planet of the Apes movie that he was in. I know he was one of the good characters and stuff, I just didn't really care for him in it, and everything. I just don't think he's that good of an actor. He's just one of those actors that, to me, kind of ruins the movies that he's in a little bit, if that makes sense. And I just thought he was terrible in this movie. This movie was one that really called for emotion and stuff, and I felt like he didn't deliver the emotion and stuff that this movie needed. But also the big twist and everything that was with it being the little girl instead of Gage. I can't remember what her name is, but instead of it being her instead of him, I think that twist would have been really awesome if they didn't show it in the trailers and totally ruin it. So that also plays a big factor in why this one's not one of my favorite movies of the decade. Not one of my favorite movies, because like the big twist was ruined, and the marketing for this movie was just absolutely horrible. And I think that also did really hurt the movie too. Plus, like, the third act of the movie, like, it just felt really, really rushed. From the minute she dies to the minute that the movie takes its end. It has a really dark ending, and I think the ending could have been a lot better and everything. It just felt really, really rushed and everything. So Pet Sematary is number 10, and number 9 is The Dead Don't Die. I think this was probably the horror movie from last year that I was the most disappointed in. I went into this expecting a good horror zombie comedy, and it looked like it was going to be great. I was hoping it was going to be like in the vein of Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland, but instead it was just really not as good as it could have been. wasted a really good cast. Bill Murray and Adam Driver did work really good together, though. I will give them that. Their chemistry was really, really good. It just the movie did not work. The humor, the deadpan humor, just didn't work for the story. And this is also probably the only movie I've ever seen where I've actually hated Steve Buscemi's characters, and he's played some bad guys before in movies and stuff, but I just really hated his character. He played this racist, redneck, stereotypical guy, and I didn't really like him in it, and they just wasted a really good cast. Most of the people that they were making big deals about in the trailer and stuff being in it, or just in a few scenes of the movie, or they're just not in it very much. This had so much potential to be so much better than it was. It was just a really big disappointment. So, The Dead Don't Die is number 9, and number 8 is Piranha 3 Double D. Now, Piranha 3D, I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I remember I really enjoyed the first one. I thought Piranha 3D was really good, and it was like a really fun B movie that kind of poked fun at movies like it and stuff and everything. But this movie just it had so much potential. I was really excited because David Koechner was in this, and I'm a pretty big fan of him, and had Daniel Panabaker, who I really liked in Friday the 13th, and I just remember being so excited for this movie because I loved the first Piranha movie, and this one just was a really, really huge disappointment. It could have been so much better than it was, and to be honest, that's all I can really say about it. I don't remember this movie very well. I've only seen it once when it first came out, and I really don't remember it very well. It was just really forgettable, and the only thing that I do remember is like at the end of the movie, I think the piranhas started walking, and it was pretty much going to mean that if they did make a third one, that piranhas would be walking and stuff. Now, I would have been interested in a third one, even though I'm sure it couldn't have got any worse than this one, but I doubt it would have gotten a lot better either. Piranha 3 Double D was just a huge disappointment and everything, so that's why it's number 8. And number 7 is Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. I have a love and hate it relationship with this franchise. Some of the movies in here I actually did like quite a bit. Like, I loved the fourth movie, if I remember right, and I liked the second one quite a bit. But then I didn't like 1 and 3 as much. I thought that they were just okay movies. But out of all the movies in this franchise, I think this is easily the worst. It was a pretty bad way to end the franchise, which personally I felt like was kind of losing its steam by this point anyway. And them showing the CGI demons and stuff, I didn't really like it. Like, part of what makes this franchise so good is not actually getting to see the demons and stuff that are haunting the house and everything. I didn't really like that. We got to see them in this movie, and it was a really big disappointment and everything. So Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension is number 7, and number 6 is Annabelle. Now, anybody who knows me thinks I'm crazy because I'm not a big fan of the Conjuring franchise. The movies just, to me, are not that fun. They rely too much on jump scares, and that's exactly what this movie does. It's extremely reliant on jump scares. The acting in it was not very good. I felt like the story wasn't really great. I remember being highly disappointed in this movie because I thought the first Conjuring movie, while not really a great movie, was an okay movie and everything. And when I saw it the first time, I really enjoyed it. I just don't think it was really a rewatchable movie. But this one, I was just extremely disappointed in. I was expecting, I guess, for it to be a lot better than it was. I felt like they didn't do a good job going into Annabelle's origins, which I know there is another prequel to called Annabelle Creation I haven't seen yet. After The Conjuring 2, I kind of just quit watching these movies. I'm gonna be reviewing all of them here before too long, so I'll be caught up on them, and maybe my thoughts on these movies will change. But I just really did not like Annabelle. I thought it was really, really disappointing, and just really not a very good movie. So Annabelle is number 6, and number 5 is Cell. I remember this was one of the first Stephen King books I ever read, and I thought it was an okay book and everything, but I didn't feel like it really was one that needed to be turned into a movie. And the movie itself just, it could have been so much better. From what I remember, it was nothing like the book really, and the cast in here, you could tell none of them wanted to be in this. The movie had so many production problems. By the time I guess they started filming it, the cast were over this movie, and even Samuel Jackson phones in his performance, which if you get Samuel Jackson to phone in a performance, then that really shows that a movie has to be really bad, because Samuel Jackson, even usually in the worst movies that he's in, usually gives a decent performance and is usually at least makes it watchable when he's on screen. But this movie, you could tell that he was bored out of his mind too. It just was not a very good movie. I don't really know anybody that liked this one. It's one of the Stephen King movies that a lot of people just don't talk about, and I'm guessing it's because of how horrible it is. I do know a few other people who have seen it, and they didn't like it either. I thought Cell was just a really, really bad movie and everything. So it's number 5, and number 4 is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. This was one that I was extremely excited for and everything, because I grew up with the books and I had heard so much about it when the movie came out. I had heard so much good about it, and there are some things that I agree with people on, like this. The special effects are really amazing and everything, and there's some scenes that are really, really gross that without the gore and stuff, or there's still really good kills, like especially the scarecrow scene. That scene, I'll admit, was really great and everything. But whenever the stuff with the characters from the book aren't happening, when it's just the main characters trying to figure out what to do to get away from them and stuff, the movie is full of cliches and terrible characters. 2 of the main characters are just extremely obnoxious and annoying, and I just felt this movie had so much potential to be so much better than it was. I was going in hoping that this would be kind of like Goosebumps, because I did like the Goosebumps movie quite a bit, the first one. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I did like the first Goosebumps movie, and I felt like that they did a much better job with that than they did with this. This one, I was hoping that it was going to be more geared towards older audiences, unlike where Goosebumps was geared towards kids from 8 to 12 and stuff. I was hoping this one would be more geared for older audiences, and while it just is not a very good movie. I felt like it could have been a lot better than it was, and I was just really, really disappointed in it. So Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is number 4, and number 3 is The Purge election year. I felt like that this movie was just absolutely terrible. I'm not really into politics anyway, and having a Purge movie centered around politics, I think it took an interesting premise. It could have been really good, but I just felt like in the end, it just was not a very good movie. I'm not a really big fan of the Purge franchise. I love the first movie. I thought the first one was amazing, but I don't really like this. I didn't like the Purge Anarchy, and I really didn't like this movie. I felt like this is easily the worst out of the franchise. It was just not very good at all, and everything. The politics kind of ruined it for me too. Also, the fact that this movie tried to throw in political agenda stuff that didn't really need to be in here anyway. I mean, I know it was centered around politics and stuff, but there was like real world jabs that they took at certain people and stuff, and I just was like, I don't want to watch a movie like that. We have to hear about this stuff in real life all the time, and movies are meant to be an escape from stuff like that. I didn't want to have to watch a movie and be thinking about that stuff. And I didn't like the Purge election year at all. I thought it was just a really terrible movie and one of the worst horror franchises ever. So the Purge election year is number 3, and number 2 is... Hey guys, I just wanted to show you real quick the best way to watch the movie ThanksKilling III. Throw it in the fucking trash. ThanksKilling III. Oh god, this movie is so bad. Now, the first movie is one of those so bad it's good movies. In fact, I could even say that it's probably the best so bad it's good movie ever made. And you could tell that what they were going for that vibe and stuff in that movie, and they tried to do it with this one, but they could not just recapture the greatness of the first movie. The voice of the turkey was different, if I remember right. I've only seen this once. I don't plan on ever going back to it. I just really did not like this movie at all. I felt that the cast was just terrible. The puppet effects don't really bother me that bad. I mean, some of them were really dumb looking and stuff, but I mean, the puppets weren't really what bothered me. It's just the movie itself was just absolutely horrible. I hated ThanksKilling III. It's just absolutely garbage. A really, really terrible movie. So it's number 2. And my number 1 worst horror movie of the 2010s is A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I'm not really bad on hating horror movie remakes like some people are. I felt like most horror remakes are actually decent. I love the Texas Chainsaw remake. I love the Friday the 13th remake, the Amityville Horror remake, Evil Dead. All those I thought were really good remakes. But this movie to me, was absolutely terrible. The acting in here was horrible. None of the characters were likable. And I absolutely hated that he made it out where Freddy was a child molester. Yes, in the originals they do hint around about it, but they actually throw it in your face in this movie, making him unlikable, and they try to make him sympathetic too. And I absolutely hated that about this movie. They say that he's a child molester, but they also want you to try to make you sympathize with him. And it just, to me, I thought that was really stupid. And the CGI on Freddy looked absolutely horrible, and I absolutely hated this movie. It just easily the worst horror movie of the 2010s for me, and everything. I just absolutely hated it, and it's not just a bias towards Robert Englund. I thought Jackie Earl Haley I think he's a really good actor, and if he was given the right material, he might have been alright as Freddy, but I did not like this movie at all. And so it's easily my number 1 on worst horror movies of the decade. So let me know in the comments what you think are the worst horror movies released in the 2010s. If there's any that I didn't mention, go ahead and mention them. So maybe I can check them out and see if I agree with you or not. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a good day, everybody.